Did you know that research suggests nearly 85% of people never chase their biggest dreams because of fear? Think about that for a second. Millions of lives filled with untapped potential, wasted opportunities, and unspoken ideas, all because of one emotion: fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. And the sad reality? These fears don't just steal your dreams. They slowly convince you to settle for a life you don't even want. Now here's the question. What if you could flip that fear on its head? What if instead of letting it control you, you challenged it, faced it head on, and used it as fuel to break through the barriers standing between you and your success? Fear. It's one of the most misunderstood forces in our lives. Most people think fear only shows up in extreme situations, like standing at the edge of a cliff, walking into a dark alley, or hearing a sudden loud noise. But the truth is, fear is much quieter and far more dangerous. Fear creeps in when you're about to take a step forward in life. When you're about to start that business, raise your hand in a meeting, tell someone how you really feel, or post your first video online. It whispers in your mind, what if you fail? What if you embarrass yourself? What if people laugh at you? And most of the time, we listen. Think about it. How many times have you held back from doing something, not because you couldn't do it, but because you were afraid of what might happen if you tried? That's the trap. Fear doesn't stop us with chains or cages. It stops us with hesitation, with self-doubt, with overthinking. But here's the thing. Behind every success story you've ever admired, there's a moment where someone had to face fear. Entrepreneurs who started with nothing, athletes who trained through pain, artists who faced endless rejection, leaders who stepped into the unknown. All of them felt fear. The difference is, they didn't let it dictate their destiny. And that's what this video is about. Because overcoming fear isn't just about feeling brave. It's about unlocking the doors to a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. A version of you that's more capable, more confident, and more unstoppable than you think. So today, let's uncover how fear has been holding you back from success. And more importantly, how you can take back control. Here's the hard truth. Fear is not just a feeling, it's a barrier. It's the invisible wall that separates where you are from where you want to be. And what makes it so dangerous is that it wears many masks. For some, it's the fear of failure. That voice that says, what if I try and fall flat on my face? What if I waste my time, my money, my energy, and end up with nothing to show for it? This fear paralyzes people before they even start. They never launch the business, never chase the dream, never take the shot, because the possibility of failure feels heavier than the possibility of success. Then there's the fear of rejection. This one is brutal because it ties directly into how we want to be seen by others. What if they laugh at me? What if they say no? What if they think I'm not good enough? This fear silences voices that could inspire the world. It stops people from sharing their ideas, from applying for opportunities, from stepping into the spotlight. And the world never gets to see their light. And perhaps the most subtle but powerful of all, the fear of the unknown. That sinking feeling when you're stepping into uncharted territory. What if I leave my comfort zone and it all goes wrong? What if I lose what I already have? What if I step into something I can't control? This fear convinces you to stay where it's safe, even if safe means stuck. These fears don't just stop you from taking action, they rob you of growth. They rob you of the chance to discover what you're truly capable of. And the most dangerous part, fear often disguises itself as something else. Logic, caution, or being realistic. But deep down, it's still fear. So ask yourself, how many times in your life have you said no to an opportunity? Not because you couldn't do it, but because you were afraid. That's the problem we're here to tackle. Fear isn't always loud. It doesn't always shout, don't do this. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides in habits so normal you don't even notice it's fear. Take procrastination, for example. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow, I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll wait for the perfect time. That's not laziness. It's fear disguised as delay. You're not waiting for the right time. You're waiting for the fear to disappear. But here's the catch. The fear never really goes away until you take action. Or what about perfectionism? You know, when you keep reworking that project, that idea, that plan, because it's not good enough yet. You tell yourself you're aiming for excellence, but often it's just fear of judgment. Fear that if you put your work out there, people might not like it. So instead, you polish, and the world never gets to see your brilliance. Then there's overthinking, that endless cycle of what-if questions. What if it doesn't work? What if people laugh? What if I lose? You replay scenarios in your head 100 times until you convince yourself not to move at all. That's fear disguised as logic. It feels like you're being smart and cautious, but in reality, you're just letting fear paralyze you. And maybe the most dangerous of all, settling. Fear convinces you that staying safe is the same as being secure. So you take the job you hate but know well. You stay in the relationship that drains you but feels familiar. You settle into a version of life that feels comfortable but never fulfills you. And years later, you wake up wondering, what if I had taken that chance? That's how fear shows up in our daily lives. Not always as a monster in the dark, but as small choices, safe excuses, and missed chances. And the truth is, every time you give in to fear, you reinforce it. You teach yourself to stay small. But here's the flip side. Every time you act in spite of fear, even in the smallest way, you grow stronger. And little by little, you start breaking free from its grip. Here's the moment of truth. The people you admire the most, they were terrified too. The difference is, they acted anyway. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. Early in her career, she was told she wasn't fit for television. Imagine that. One of the most powerful voices in media history was once rejected and doubted. Fear of rejection could have ended her story right there. But instead of letting fear silence her, she used it as fuel. She kept going. And today, she's not just successful, she's an icon who changed millions of lives. Or consider Michael Jordan. In high school, he was cut from the basketball team. For many, that would have confirmed their worst fear. I'm not good enough. He could have quit. But Jordan faced that fear, trained harder, and transformed rejection into motivation. The result? He became the greatest basketball player of all time. And then there's J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection for Harry Potter. Publishers told her it wouldn't sell, that it wasn't good enough. Imagine if she had listened to that fear of failure. The world would have never known one of the most beloved stories in history. The key moment here is simple, but life-changing. Successful people are not fearless. They just refuse to let fear make their decisions. They feel the fear, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. That's the shift we need, because fear will always knock on your door. The question is, will you let it in, or will you step forward anyway? So let's take a step back and look at what we uncovered. Fear isn't just an emotion. It's the silent thief of dreams. It's the invisible barrier that convinces you to stay small when you were built to do something great. We saw how fear wears different masks. The fear of failure that keeps you from even starting. The fear of rejection that silences your voice before it's ever heard. The fear of the unknown that tricks you into believing comfort is safer than growth. We saw how it sneaks into your daily life as procrastination, perfectionism, overthinking, and even settling for less. And we realized that every time you give in, you hand fear more control over your future. But here's the breakthrough. Every success story, from Oprah to Michael Jordan to J.K. Rowling, proves that fear isn't the end of the road. Fear is simply the test. The question is never, will you feel afraid? The question is, what will you do when you feel afraid? Because success isn't about eliminating fear. It's about refusing to let fear be the driver of your life. It's about making choices based on your vision, not your doubts. It's about understanding that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. So the next time fear shows up, don't run from it. Look it in the eye and take one step forward. That's how dreams are built. That's how legends are made. And that's how you unlock the version of yourself you've been waiting to meet. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest fear that's been holding you back? Is it the fear of failure, rejection, or stepping into the unknown? Drop it in the comments below. You'll be surprised how many people are fighting the exact same battles. And just by sharing it, you take away some of its power. And if today's message spoke to you, don't stop here. Go watch my next video on personal growth strategies, where I'll show you how to take small, practical steps every single day to build confidence and momentum, even when fear is still in the room. Remember this, fear may knock on your door, but you don't have to hand it the keys to your life. The choice is yours. Stay stuck in fear, or step forward into success.